So this is an old story. It's a variation on a story that the ancient Greeks used to tell. And it takes place in a time a long, long time ago when gods and goddesses still walked the earth. And people addressed them by name. They'd say, "Hello, Zeus. Hello, Mercury. How's it going?" One of those goddesses was named Demeter. And she was the goddess of grain and growing things. And it was her job to encourage the earth to put forth new life and to grow, grow, grow. And she was responsible for growing grass and leaves and flowers and avocados and cherries and carrots and green beans and strawberries and every good thing you could possibly think of. So she had a very important job. And back in those days, because Demeter was walking on the earth, it was summer all the time. And that was the only thing that people knew. She always encouraged the earth to grow, 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 and so it was green all the time. Well, one day, Demeter was napping in a field under an olive tree, and her little daughter Persephone, who always was with her, went chasing after a rabbit. And Demeter kind of opened her eyes and said, "Don't go too far," and then she fell back asleep. Well, Persephone chased that rabbit all the way across the field, and then she chased that rabbit all the way into the woods, and then farther into the woods, and she got lost. And while she was wandering the woods, she passed an old hollow oak tree. And a surprising thing happened. Out of that oak tree came a very deep voice that said, "Persephone, come down and see me." So she looked into the tree and she saw that it was hollow and a tunnel led deep underground. And the voice said, "Persephone, come down and see me." Well, she wasn't afraid, so she climbed down that tunnel and went straight underground. And she followed the voice and she followed the tunnel deeper and deeper into the earth until eventually it opened up into an enormous cavern. And inside the cavern it was beautiful. There were green mosses glowing on the walls and there were crystals everywhere. And there was a man on a giant throne. And it was Hades, the god of the underworld, who lived underground. And he said, "Persephone, stay with me because I am lonely. And I would like some company, and it is beautiful underground here too." So meanwhile, up on the surface, Demeter woke up from her nap, and she saw that Persephone was nowhere to be found. And she called her name, "Persephone!" But Persephone was underground and couldn't hear her. So Demeter became very afraid because she was missing her daughter. So she wandered through the woods, but she couldn't find her. And she wandered through the fields, but she couldn't find her because she was underground. And as she wandered, she grew sadder and sadder, missing her daughter. And she forgot to encourage the earth to grow, grow, grow. And the grasses withered, and the leaves fell off the trees. And the flowers died, and the earth became cold and gray. Now, all of the people living on the earth in their villages had never seen anything like this before. All they'd ever known was summer. And they became very afraid. "What will happen to us?" they said. "If nothing grows again, we'll run out of food. What will we do?" And they prayed to Demeter, "Please make the earth grow again." But she wasn't listening because she was too sad. So the people instead prayed to the great god Zeus. "Zeus, please do something. Talk to her. We're very concerned." And Zeus did hear them, and he knew at once what had happened. So he went straight down to see Hades, and he said, "Hades, Persephone must return to the surface and be with her mother." But Hades was lonely, and he was selfish. And he said, "I will not let her go. Actually, the fact is, while she was down here, she ate the food of the underworld, and once you've done that, you can't go back to the surface, and that is the law." And it was true, that was the law, but Zeus knew that love was more powerful than the law. He said, "Persephone will spend half the year underground, but then half the year on the surface with her mother." And he brought her up to be reunited with her mother, and Demeter was overjoyed, and they hugged, and they cried, and the earth burst into life immediately. The grasses grew, and the leaves appeared on the trees, and the flowers opened their petals, and it was life again. So now, every 6 months out of the year, Persephone returns to visit Hades underground. And because Demeter misses her daughter during that time, things stop growing, and the earth turns to fall and winter. But from then on, the people knew that however long and cold the winter was, Persephone would always return to her mother, and spring would always come again. And that is the story the Greeks told about the promise of spring. Now, we've just had winter here ourselves. The earth has been cold and snowy and white. But the story of Persephone tells us that that whole time, something has been waiting underneath. What do you think that is? You want to help me look and see what's been underneath the snowy ground all winter? Anyone want to help me? And these are for you. So I invite you to take a flower, take it back to your big person, and thank you so much for sharing.